Hello, my name is Jason. This mic is obviously on, that's just great. Today we'll be talking about PacketFilter and how it gets used on PFSENSE. So let's get right into it. So I am the resident networking god when Omar is not around. I don't see him today, so I'm the god in the room. I am currently the networking lead for the Collegiate Cyber Defense competition team. And by the way, a little shout out with information meeting, 5 o'clock, upstairs, middle sec room. You guys should come, learn about CCTC, be great. Also a red team chief with the Michael Vaughn. We went out for breakfast this morning, and it was delicious. I'm also old. This is my 4th year here. It's kind of crazy. And I've done a lot of other stuff too, but it's a long list, so I'm not going to bore you guys with it. Bore you guys with the PFSENSE. So today we'll be talking about PacketFilter and PFSENSE. We'll go over what it is, then we'll talk about how you can use it the easy way, and we'll go over how to use it the best way, as well as some other things that you might want to know. It should be very informative. So what is PFSENSE? First and foremost, it's a firewall. You can use it to filter traffic and kind of guide how you shape your network. You can use it to keep out red team, to let blue teamers do their stuff. Or in the real world, you can use it to keep out all the bad guys or other people that just kind of do random stuff and keep your network protected. It's got a lot of cool features. Got like some spam detection and like filtering. You can kind of like segment your network. Traffic, like if you have like 10 gigabytes coming in per second, you can create queues and use the queues to kind of determine priority of input, which is really fascinating stuff. And also, it's a router. So if you need to set up VLANs, you can use that, and you can do a lot of other interesting stuff with it. So it's a cool tool. What is it actually, though? PFSENSE is a graphical wrapper around the PacketFilter library. PacketFilter was written for the Berkeley software distribution for like version of like Linux stuff. So it was originally built on OpenBSD, kind of ported to the other BSD versions that are out there, like hardened BSD, FreeBSD, NetBSD. There's a lot of BSDs. We've also, this Zoom thing, there we go. Yeah, PFSENSE is currently maintained in an open source format by a company called Netgate. It's becoming a commercial product slowly. It has something out right now called PFSENSE Plus, and it's like comes with like a small little like router with a couple of ports on it, and it's really just their own hardware running PFSENSE, and it's kind of silly and dumb and way too overpriced. But that's what PFSENSE is actually. It's kind of like a cake. You got like 3 layers. Your first layer is your GUI, your graphical wrapper around PacketFilter, which is your second layer of cake, and your first layer of cake is like BSD. So you can use PacketFilter on any BSD distribution. One that I'm learning more about now is PFSENSE, which is a different wrapper around PacketFilter built on hardened BSD. So lots of PacketFilters kind of everywhere. And you don't have to use PFSENSE if you want to use the PacketFilter library. It can do a lot of cool stuff on other distributions of software. So how to use the PFSENSE the easy way? You don't, because there is no easy way to use PFSENSE. The GUI is terrible, and this is bad. So don't use the GUI. Just use the command line, like an awesome person. And I'll give you guys all the tools and tricks you need to use the command line and be awesome. So once again, don't use PFSENSE, the GUI, just the command line. So first and foremost, we have the PFSENSE shell. So when you SSH into a box, or you have like a console to your PFSENSE box, this is what's going to pop up. You see all these beautiful options. It'll tell you what interfaces you have up here, give you like your current version, and some other stuff. There's like your host name. It's kind of informative. Of all of these options, there's only a couple that are actually important and get used like in a competition setting or like a day-to-day thing. You've got assign interfaces, set interfaces to IP addresses. You've got your shell. You've got pftop and SSH. So those are 1, 2, 8, 9, and 14. So going into them a bit more, set interfaces, when you hit like number 1 on your, like on that command line, if you pick number 1 out of the options, you're going to be presented with the option to assign like the actual NICs to, and NIC is a network interface card. I know that word gets thrown around a lot, so that's what that means. It's basically like the actual port on your computer. Like this, right? Little Ethernet port is like a NIC right here. Little live demo right there. So yeah, you can assign interfaces to directions. So your WAN and your LAN will have directions. You have an inbound interface, outbound interface. Since I just spun up a VM and did not set up a second network adapter for it, we only have one, which is called EM0 with that MAC address. You guys all know what MAC addresses are, right? When I say MAC address, everybody understands. Give me a thumbs up if you understand.
Give a basic, what is a MAC address and what is MAC address?
Okay, just for a little refresher, I'm going to go out to the crowd here. Anybody want to share what a MAC address is? Yes, in the green. Okay, and what is the IP address then? Anybody else want to share? I'll go back to you. Yeah. Beautiful. That was a really good explanation. Yes. So what Kyle just said is that the MAC address is like your hardware device. And oh wait, the camera. Where's the? Right there. I'll look at the camera. Oh, we're doing the middle one now. Okay. Yeah. It used to be that one over there, but now it's the middle one. Cool. Yeah. So your MAC address is your hardware connection. Like I said, it's kind of like your Ethernet port, or if you have like, it's the hardware level. So like the 7-layer OSI model sits at layer 2. So like Ethernet frames get passed along. That's where you have a hardware address. And then your IP address is your layer 3 protocol that tells you like where you are in your connection to the network. So in this first option, bring it all back to PFSENSE, you're associating your WAN and your LAN with hardware addresses. Basically what interface you want those traffics to be assigned to. I wish I had a whiteboard. Like I said, I only have one interface right here. So I just have a WAN, I don't have a LAN because it's my VM and it was a rush. But yeah, these are the options. So you start up like up here, you'll kind of hit these buttons, like you want to set up VLANs? No. You can either do auto detection or you can give like the actual name of the interface. I gave the actual name of the interface and then asked me for a LAN. I don't have an interface, so we didn't do that. Then it said, okay, this is what you're gonna do. And I said yes, and away we went. We went back to the config. It'll tell you when it's done, and you'll get this nice screen again. So that's the first option about setting interfaces. Second option is assigning IP addresses, which is where you get your layer 3 connection. So sometimes like your WAN will have a DHCP, so you just hit yes for that. Then you can statically assign your LAN IP address. This is pretty useful. And then you can also tell it if you want to use like HTTP, HTTPS, if you set that up in this page. That's kind of all that stuff. Any questions about like setting up a PFSENSE and getting it connected to the network? Seeing none? Great. The next option that we're talking about is option, we're skipping the shell, we'll come back to that. Going to number 14, I believe. Actually, no. 9. Thank you. Yeah, number 9, PFTop. So this is a command line thing of just like all your network connections. So over here we've got your protocol. We have something, I don't know what that is. We have like your source IP address with the port, destination IP address with the port. Then this all connects back to like a little map. 9 means connected. This is like the TTL on like how old, like how many packets, like how many jumps this had before it got here. When did it expire? So the packet goes bye-bye. 0 means never. Packets is like the amount of packets in that connection, and the bytes is just the size. So if you don't have other auditing ways to audit your network connections, this is one of them. And they're probably, no, I don't know if there's other things you can do with PFDOT besides this. I don't really use it. We all have other stuff, but it is pretty useful. Option number 14 is setting up SSH. As a red teamer, I love setting this up because it's good for me. So it's always, I love enabling it. If you're blue teaming, you probably don't want to set up SSH for your server if you have console access to it. But if I find out that you have done that and I see it, I'm going to switch it back. So leave it on for me. Thanks, guys. So the shell. We're about to leave the PFSense shell right here. Oh, and there's other stuff here. Like you can reset the password for like the web GUI, or you can restart it. This is kind of cool. However, I've not looked into it. So if you want to look into it, go for it. But it's PHP, so fair warning on that one. Do you have any other questions about these options? Seeing no other questions, we'll go talk about the shell. So PFSense and BSD is different than regular Linux. So some things are not the same. The default shell is in Bash. It's called TC shell or TCSH. A lot of the same commands, a lot of the same structures, but some things are a bit different. Package manager for PFSense and most BSD systems, because that's what we're dealing with now. Is there's the BSD, like the bottom layer of the cake. This is BSD, free BSD. So the package manager is PKG. So there's no sudo. You have to use su root if you want to PFS and do something. So you can install sudo and set it up. And then there's not like a sudo's group. It's the wheel group if you want to have like those permissions to do elevated things. There's no built-in compiler for PFSense. When that gets released, they took it out. It was kind of a smart move on their part because they don't want you like compiling malware on the router. Kind of sucks for us. It means that when we are trying to deploy something that's compiled to PFSense, we have to go find like the OG version of like FreeBSD, spin that up as a VM, compile it over there, move all the stuff to the router, and hope it works.
Or we just use Golang.
Or we just use Golang. There is a tool that we have currently that I've tried to get to work on PFSense that it is compiled, and it hasn't because there's been like missing files, and it's made me sad because I didn't write it and I don't know how to use it. So I'm just sad about it in general. Kind of an L. But yeah, as you guys can see down here. Oh, little thing I learned creating this presentation is trying to figure out what shell you have. You just do PS tag P, then $, and it gives you back your shell. I didn't know that. Now I do. Yes, Joe?
Might be dumb, but does Python work in BSD and PFSense?
Yes, but you need to install it. And you also might be missing some libraries. Who knows? just send it and see what happens.
Pro tip is just add it to the compiler.
Yeah, we love gigabyte-sized binaries. Oh yeah, and then there's the proof that sudo doesn't exist until you install it. Moving on to important files. Instead of having like a bash RC or like a profile, you've got a .login and like a .tcch, which is kind of the same thing, but they're different file names. They both exist in the home directory. Instead of having initd as like your startup service for like regular Linux, we've got init.rc, and that's where you kind of add things that you want to run on boot. So pro blue teamer strat right here is go figure out what that should look like without malware in it, and then go check it when there is malware in it and see if anything is there that shouldn't be there. But I didn't tell you guys that. And the rest of it's kind of the same. You've kind of got like you got your /etc, you got your user, you got your bin, you got your slib, you got your lib, you got your sbin, all that stuff. important things about the router. So, I can't spell router. Your default router config is written in XML. It is stored in the cf/conf/config.xml file. It's got a backup as well. We'll talk about that more. Then you can have your PFSense config like written in text, where you want to have all of your firewall rules in /etchy/pf.conf. You've got a temp file called rules.debug that has all of the rules listed out that it's currently running. So if there's like an issue with one of your rules, like it got picked up by PF and ran, but it didn't work, like you won't see it in rules.debug, which is kind of cool. And then if you want to use the GUI, which I don't recommend because it's PHP and it'll be riddled with backdoors. But if you want to use it and you want to audit all those files, user/local/dub is where all that PHP is stored. So the router config, it's written in XML. Yeah, like a little picture of it down here. It's just I don't know what XML stands for. It's something markup language. Extended markup language, there we go. Thank you, Evan. There's also a symlink to it in root. It was like /conf, and it takes you right to the same directory. We love this config. It's amazing to edit by hand. It's only like a couple hundred lines, so it's pretty easy to edit and modify by hand. We love adding a little like pass all in there. So, and then we changed the backup as well. So I will definitely like try to get a new one of those. Yes, that's the config. Yeah, like I said earlier, user local /dub is full of PHP, and therefore it's full of backdoors. So it's hard to check all of them, so try to get the most important ones. Maybe like login.php is kind of important. Maybe see if there's a red team.php in there. Some tips for that. And now for the fun part of this presentation. I get to bore you all with how to write PFSense and like PF rules by hand. So etsy/pf.conf, it doesn't exist natively on like PFSense and like on like in the FreeBSDs. You just make your own. PF will still pick it up and run it and make it work. So it's your best friend. You can do a lot of fancy stuff in there and make a lot of really cool things happen. So it's the place to go and write your firewall rules. You can use some other files, and we'll get into that later. But here's a fun little tip. And this actually isn't in the slides, so pay attention. So the way that the web GUI works is you can create a rule, and then it'll send that rule down to PacketFilter, and PacketFilter will take care of the rest. But PacketFilter, and then on the way back up, it'll show you like it made the rule, had some matches, all that stuff, which is kind of neat if you're using the web GUI. But if you're not using the web GUI and you make a PacketFilter rule like on the command line, it will not get shown back up in the GUI. So we love to write rules via the command line that blue teamers who are using like the GUI can't see, and it's kind of like a go-to strat. So in the event that you're using the GUI, you're not going to see all of the rules that we may have put in there because they don't go back up the stack, kind of, sort of. Yeah, we talked about rules.debug. It's where all your current rules are displayed. This is kind of important for when you're writing firewall rules. Rules are read from top to bottom of the list, and PF will send the packet to the last set, like last matching thing is what gets applied to that packet. So if I've got like 15 rules, it'll read all 15 rules, and I matched, say, on rule 7, the packet, after reading all 15 rules, will go do whatever rule 7 says. That's the last thing that it matched. So if we want to block all of the traffic, a good place to put that in like a real-world setting is like block all on top and have all of your rules for like your specific cases, and then your block all on top will be your generic catch-all. In a competition setting, like you put your block all on the bottom so everything gets blocked. Great tip. Does that make sense? Sometimes like different routers have a different way of doing it. Like there's IP tables on Linux is a match, is like a first match process. So like the first thing that your packet matches that's what it'll do. So you guys all understand that? Cool. So now let's get into writing some rules. So very, very simple starting point. So block in all, pass out all. Everything that's incoming is basically like gonna get denied. Everything that you want going out will get accepted. Pretty simple. And the generic format for like rules is your action, like what you're matching on, actually like your interface, and then like what you're matching on. Generally speaking, we get a bit more complicated in a moment. So doing this for like every single thing, it's going to get really complicated really quickly and like really long. So we have things called lists and macros to kind of make that go easier. So in this rule, pass proto TCP to port 2280.443. We have a list of those 3 ports, and we're telling PF to allow like TCP to those ports. Going down below, we have a thing called macros. It's really just not environmental, it's just a variable that you can use. You just kind of set it equal to something, then you use a $sign to reference it. So in this example, we've got pass proto TCP to external mail, where external mail is an IP address on port 25. So this is how we start to simplify things when we get really complicated. You guys with me so far? Here's another kind of simple example. Here we've got a list of all of these services in like as strings. PF will understand what these map to like numerically. So then here, like as we said, it's a match last kind of situation. So we have a drop all at the top, and then our specific cases are covered right here. So we are allowing to like all of these out, and then we're allowing UDP both in and out. Still good? Still with me? Cool. More complicated. We can assign interfaces to variables and macros as well, so that it makes, like, say you're moving your home lab and the interfaces change. You don't have to rewrite your entire PacketFilter like library by hand. You can just change these 2 variables. It's like don't hard code stuff, right? So we've got our exit interface EM0. That's our WAN. And we've got our interior interface, that's EM1, that's our LAN. And then for this example, we're only using 2 ports, www, which is just 80 and SSH. And then here we go. So we're passing in protocol TCP on interface, the exit one. So it's coming into our router, and we're allowing it from the network to this other network. We're sending it across the router and just those ports. And by default, it keeps the state, but we're specifying that here just because we can. Question, little quiz. Is this top rule enough to get all of our traffic that we want from the outside into the inside? Is that enough? You guys, give me a thumbs up if you think words are hard. Give me a thumbs up if you think that's enough. Seeing no thumbs up, and I think it's because I have this other rule down here. The answer is it's not. Imagine your router as like the entrance doors into the GCI. You got 2 doors, right? You've got the one from the outside, and then you got the one from the inside. But to get into the building, you got to go through both. Your router is kind of the same way. We can take traffic from the outside. We can pass it through the like external interface. But if we're not accepting it through the internal interface as well, then we're going to get stuck in like inside the router. So that's why we need the second rule right here that says pass out of the interior interface from the exterior network to the interior network these ports. Does that all make sense? Cool. I thought of the analogy on the fly. I just want you guys all to know. So it wasn't planned. It's off the dome, as they say. Then you can get really granular with things. So here we're getting granular with ICMP. We're not trying to let every ICMP request, every Nmap into our network. So we're just doing echo requests from the interior and out. That's all we got to do. So this is kind of easy. And to keep things also simple, when you have a large list of hosts, you can create things called tables to keep them organized. So instead of, say like we want to segment like only some things like in the exterior network here, we don't want everything, we want some of them, we can create a table of IP addresses of like known good things. And instead of specifying like from exit interface network, we can say like from this table as an example. So going back over here, we have our table where we define it. Tables are always defined by like these open and closed carets, and then we give it a list. The persist here means that we want it to come back all the time. If you don't have that, sometimes it gets wiped. And a fun fact is generally when you change your pf.conf, it'll reload the entire rule set. So when you get into like big corporate scenarios where you've got like 1,000 long line pf.conf, it'll take a long time to reload. So when you update tables, it'll only update parts of the things that like it pertains to. So it's a good way to make changes without having to reload your entire config. Oh, and the other thing here is in our list, we can also have exclusions, which is denoted by the exclamation point bang. So in this list, we're saying these two hosts are good, but not that host. That kind of makes sense. Cool. Anchors, as said, like when you're in a corporate scenario and you've got like thousands of hosts, you're going to have some rules that you don't need to load all the time. So to keep them less complicated, you can create a thing called an anchor. And this lets you apply rules from other files, and you can have that file stored anywhere. So if you don't want to list all of your rules in 10,000 long like pf.config, you can just have some of your rules in this anchor, and you can load the anchor in your pf.conf, and it'll still get picked up and ran by PFSENSE, well, PF. So as an example, we have our block all, then we say anchor this, like the name of the anchor, and then we say load the anchor from this location. Any questions? So I was gonna put like a really big, long like example in here, and then I decided not to do that to not scare you guys. Like I said, like you can get to places where you've got like 10,000 lines of like PFSense rules, and that gets really complicated and it gets really hard to read. So we use all these tools, our lists, our macros, our tables, and our anchors to simplify it and keep it easy to read. So, questions? Any questions? All right, we got a question over. Yes, question.
Can you access the traffic shaping from the on-file?
Can we access the what?
Traffic shaping.
Yes, those rules, sometimes those get loaded into the config, like the XML config, but those are, most of the time those are just generic things. Like it will define the interfaces as the WAN or the LAN, and it'll have like a generic like pass all in there. And I would have to go and double check, but I'm pretty sure like the instantaneous rules don't get updated into the XML config. Question?
So if I want to learn more about PFSense, how should I start?
How should you start? Just spin up a VM, and then the first thing that confuses you, Google it, is pretty much my answer to that. There are good man pages out there. PFSense documentation does exist. Currently is maintained by Netgate. So kind of Google is your friend, but also so is hands-on experience. I've been using this for like 4 years now, and it doesn't, now that's why I know what I'm doing. Question over here, then over there. Question?
Is there any sort of competition where they have trials per chance to practice networking with PFSense?
Yes, there is. So what he was pitching over there is this wonderful thing called TCDC. In the trial to TCDC, as you'll learn later if you come to the info session at 5 o'clock, is a rotation where you'll learn about networking. And in that rotation, we'll be using PFSense and PacketFilter as our demonstration tool. But it's, yeah. Questions over here?
You said that red team could use the GUI thing to like, the GUI thing is insecure and red team can use it. Can I just delete the www directory?
You could. That is a strategy.
Okay.
But I guess as you will learn, deleting things is generally not great. Making backups of them and changing them so that like other people can access them is a lot better. From like an instant response standpoint, if you delete like your evidence, it's kind of bad. So we have an intro to IR presentation at some point, right? Right? I'm asking the people on eBoard, hypothetically. Plans in the works, okay.
I know one was given last year, and the recording is up on
Yeah.
YouTube.
So, what? Yeah, we're going to do one of those, right? Maybe? Maybe? Oh, I don't know. To be determined. Basically, go to IRIG and learn about how to do incident response, and you'll learn that deleting things is bad, and backing them up and reviewing them later is good. So you could just delete it, but maybe just move it somewhere else so it doesn't get like actually picked up by Nginx. Yeah, Kip, you had a question?
Yes.
What's up?
Say CCDC things at 5.
Yes.
That's today.
Yes.
Where?
SecLab upstairs. Additionally, after this info session, starting next week, we'll be having like actual trial practices from 5 to 7. It'll be 5 to 7 pretty much every single Friday from here till the end of time. So if you want to come to CCDC, it's open invitation. Everybody can come to any of the practices. It's a great way to get hands-on experience, especially if this is your first time like learning what a command line is. Like the wealth of knowledge in that room is crazy, and you'll be challenged, and you'll learn so much just by being there and being hands-on. Yeah. Other questions? All right. This is why I love PFSENSE. I was trying to do all the coding like actually on the box and like run it so it would work, and so I tried to install Vim. That's the best text editor. So I installed Vim, and then I ran Vim, and it said command not found. You can't see that. What happened? One moment. All right, now you guys can see that. Yeah, I ran Vim, and I said Vim command not found. So I installed it again. It said already installed. So I ran the command. It said command not found. So this right here is a prime example of why I love PFSENSE with my heart and soul. Other questions before I stop monologuing about PFSENSE? No? Okay, thank you all for paying attention. Hopefully you guys learned how to use this and feel confident in maybe trying out some PFSENSE rules the next time you have to use it. If you have any questions, I'm always available. Thank you very much.